So if you are looking to switch things up a bit and try a different way of sequencing, maybe get interesting results, I definitely recommend using I Love Cookies from ComputerScare, which is a text-based sequencer. I want to show you a few interesting things it can do. It pairs really well with Laundry Soup, also from ComputerScare. This is a trigger sequencer. If you are interested, I made a full video on it on Patreon. There's a link in the description. But today we will concentrate on I Love Cookies. So first of all, we can choose a range in the right-click menu, right? So this can work great for pitch and modulation as well, but we will go with 0 to 2 volts. So we have 2 octaves. I'm going to use this for pitch information, right? Then you can see that there are letters here on the left with knobs. These will be the values of the different letters. We can also randomize them in the right-click menu. We can choose wiggle knobs. Right, I'm just going to click this a bit. There are overall 6 channels that we can use. Right, each of them has a clock and reset inputs, and there is also a global input for clock and reset. So in this case, I will use a multiplied by 2 clock and connect also the reset. Now here I already have a voice. This is the sine VCO from Surge, right, going through the envelope generator with some modulation. It will sound like this. Right, I will also use a quantizer, so the first row will go to the quantizer and from there to the sine VCO. And now the most basic way of using this sequencer is just by entering letters. So let's say we will go with A, B, C, D. Right, so we get 4 steps with the corresponding values of A, B, C, and D of the knobs, right? We can go with another time A, B, C, and then let's say E. And let's change E, I think E is. Right? So now we have 8 steps. Right, we can go again, let's say A, B, F, G. And then let's say J, K, J, L. Right, so we have 16 steps because again we have 16 letters, and each letter again is corresponding to one of the knobs here, to the values, and again in this case 0 to 2 volts. Let's mute this for a second. I have here another voice which is the FM operator with some modulation. Right, and I will use the second channel here, so again to the quantizer and then to the FM operator. Right, and now let's try and do something more complex. So let's go with reverb is life. Right, so we have 12 steps, 12 letters. But let's say that I want this to be a 16-step sequence. So what we can do is add at 16. Right, and now it will stretch this sequence to be 16, so it will play the first 12 notes and then add 4 more. Right, so reverb is life, and then rive, and then again from the beginning. Right, so we have a 12-step sequence that we turned or stretched into 16 steps. Right, now we can take this even a step further. So let's say that we want a few sequences that will play one after another. Each of them will have 8 steps. So let's delete this for a second. I will open brackets. Right, then reverb. Right, then comma is comma life. And let's add also another comma and enter man. So reverb is life man. I will close the brackets. And now this will be at 8. Right, so now it will play reverb as an 8-step sequence. So reverb re, then is as an 8-step sequence, is, then life as an 8-step sequence, and then man as an 8-step sequence. So all in all, we have 32 steps. And it will move from one sequence to another. Right, so it's a bit more complex 32-step sequence. Right, let's mute this and have another voice. I have here the dark energy oscillator with some delay with chronoblob 2. So this will be the third sequence again through the quantizer to dark energy. Right, and now let's do this. Let's start with Hopalach. Right, so we have 9 steps. Right, and I want to add some randomness to this, so we can use curly brackets and let's say put the C and the H inside them. Right, so if I go here, I enter curly brackets this time. And now we'll have an 8-step sequence as you can see here. Right, and the C and the H will be randomly chosen. So sometimes it will play the C, sometimes it will play the H. I believe the probability is 50-50. Right, so sometimes we'll have Opalak and sometimes Opala. But again, let's say that I want to keep this as a 9-step sequence. So again, just at 9, and it will stretch it, so it will play Opalak or Opala, and then another time H. Right, let's listen to the other voices here. Right, we can also take the first voice an octave down. Right, so we have 3 interesting sequences. Again, it's a bit different than just entering notes on a normal, let's say, traditional sequencer. You can get interesting results. Okay, let's have another voice. Right, so I will mute them, and then I have here... Oh yes, I have here another voice. I have 2 classic VCOs from Surge mixed into a filter. Right now for this channel, I will use a slower clock. I have here a clock divided by 4. Right, so this will go to the clock input of, let's take this one, another channel. Right, so now this channel, this row will run with the divided clock. Right, I will also connect the pitch. Right, this will go to both oscillators, of course. Right, and let's start with the 4-step sequence. I will just enter bass. So we have BASS. Right, but now let's say that I want to add another step that will always be random. It will always have a random value. So what I can do, I can just add empty curly brackets, right, without anything inside. So now we have 5 steps, and the last step will always be a random letter. Now it was Y, it will always take a random letter, random value from the pool of letters. Now it was another S. Now it was an X. Right, so we can add even more variation to this. I have here an ADDR sequencer from Bog Audio. Right, it's running with the multiplied clock. You can see it's running quickly. It has only 5 steps. Right, and now you can see we have here inputs also. Opalach, this is not what I wanted. We have here also inputs. Right, so if I send this, for example, to A, right, you can see that these letters here, the inputs here are with uppercase letters. Right, so if now instead of this lowercase a, I hope you can see this, maybe I will move this for a second. Right, so now instead of the lowercase a, I enter an uppercase a. It will use the sequencer, it will use what's coming here in the input. Right, let's reset everything and listen to everything together. Right, so again, we have 5 steps, right? B is B, A will take the sequence, the ADDR sequencer, because it's an uppercase, which means that it will take what's coming in the inputs. Then we have double S here, and then another step that will always be a random letter, a random value from the pool of letters here. Right, so you can see how fun this sequencer can be, how complex your sequences can be. Again, it's not your traditional pitch or modulation sequencer, but there are interesting things you can do with it, interesting ways of creating longer, more complex sequences. Again, if you're interested, go check out the video I did about laundry soup. Thank you again for watching. Cheers.